Today I'd like to speak with you about the Kairos moment that we're in.
Reverend Dr. George Cairns, the Turtle Island Project Board Chairman, says climate change, species extinction, and other destructive problems are joining forces to signal the beginning of the end for humans, and we would be the first species to ever bring about its own demise.
Right now, the rate of species extinction is higher than it has been since the dinosaurs were destroyed millennia ago.
Reverend Dr. Cairns said humans are facing a Kairos moment. A Greek word for occasion or timing, Kairos is the art of seizing the moment, a combination of understanding context and the proper timing.
A Kairos moment is a time when a profound response is required by human beings at an existential level, having to do with events that are occurring.
The co-founder of the Turtle Island Project, Dr. Cairns, said the numbers surrounding species extinction are shocking, as, in our relatively short time on Earth, humans have killed off nearly 1,000 species. Species extinction and global warming are among the measures that demonstrate the dire future for Earth and humans if we don't change our attitudes. Reverend Cairns said nearly 15,600 species are now threatened with extinction. A research professor with the Chicago Theological Seminary, Dr. Cairns, said over the past 500 years, humans have forced 844 species into extinction, with the exception of a handful who remain alive only in man-made facilities like zoos and preserves. Dr. Cairns noted that several 2007 United Nations reports state that almost one-third of the world's species of animals and plants are expected to be at the risk of extinction within 50 years due to climate change. Australian environmental philosopher Glenn Albrecht has coined a term for the losses that humans have brought upon ourselves.
In Australia, there has been a drought that is worse than there has been in more than 1,000 years. A researcher there has coined a new term having to do with the sense of profound sadness that people in Australia are having in regard to this loss of native species, of plants and animals in their environment. Plants and animals may not be extinct as a species, but they're disappearing from the place where people live. And the resulting and overwhelming response to this is a sense of profound sadness of place. He calls it solastalgia. It's a sense of homesickness, a sense of being away from home. Today we, in our culture, or your American culture, are so mobile that we feel that we have very few roots with place. I think that there are connections that we don't know that we have, such that if those connections don't continue, it has a very profound effect. To give you an example, I remember right after 9/11 when all flights were canceled for a few days. Walking in the dark in an area where we could really see the sky well, it was a very profound experience to see no planes when normally we'd see 15 or 20 of them at one time. Now this is a loss of a human constructed device, but even so, the night sky is for us is conditioned by the presence of these planes, and I was surprised at the effect that not seeing them had. Our species is not only dealing with the physical issues of extinction for our species, it's also dealing with the psycho-spiritual dimensions. We're just now beginning to examine more fully what those stressors are for us. It appears that they are profound.
In November 2007, the Turtle Island Project sponsored an ecumenical retreat at Eden-on-the-Bay Lutheran Church in Munising, Michigan. At the retreat, Dr. Cairns explained centering prayer and taught the group a form of chanting called jubilation.
The concept of interpenetration goes beyond the notion of interdependence and suggests that all of creation dramatically interpenetrates itself, which means that none of us is really separate from one another in very strong ways, that we really are a part, literally a part of one another and a part of all of creation, and all of creation is a part of us. One way of understanding this concept, which is very difficult for us as visual beings, is through the use of sound, and in particular through the use of what has been known as harmonic chant, or in the Christian tradition has been called singing a jubilation. I'd like to offer you a few examples of what this sounds like, and sometime later we can discuss how to produce these sounds. When individuals who chant together, sing a jubilation together, either alone or with other folks, what also arises are sounds that no person has made. And this is a wonderful physical experience of the interpenetration that goes on in reality. So let me give us a little let me give you one or two short examples of what this sounds like. And now a second time. I've used the tone controls to help emphasize the upper registers, since we tend to tune them out in everyday life. Houston Smith says, "This is a perfect metaphor for the sacred, where we only attend to the mundane aspects of reality and ignore the presence of the sacred that is all around us." In this case, the sacred are the overtones, and the fundamental tone that one sings is everyday life.
The Turtle Island Project was founded in August 2007 to encourage people to find a renewed respect for the planet, nature, wildlife, and fellow humans.
We are concerned that our current individual and systemic Western consciousness is disembodied and ill. We are not trying to turn back the clock to the Stone Age, but we do know that a change in consciousness must begin if our planet and we are to survive. We believe that this process started several thousand years ago in the late Paleolithic.
During the Interfaith Retreat for Religious Leaders, Turtle Island Project Director Reverend Dr. Lynn Hubbard said it's the responsibility of clergy to speak out on social issues like the abuse of the environment and racism. Turtle Island Project founders say we can learn a lot from earth-based cultures like the Celts and Native Americans.
Turtle Island Project is also interested in creating a North American theology, and that is a theology that is not only a study of God and understanding of God from the point of view of Western European peoples, but also generations of indigenous peoples. And that's what we have in common with one another. We share space, and Turtle Island Project is interested in examining the theological implications of what that means. To really, for I think the first time in our own history of this country, listen to the voice of Native American peoples in this place that we call North America, that the indigenous peoples of this country called Turtle Island.
Greg Peterson, Turtle Island TV.